Hi everyone, welcome to my review of Carry On Dick from 1974, directed by Gerald, and of course the 26th Carry On film in the series. So yes, we are back once again ready to discuss Carry On. This time around, Carry On Dick, quite an interesting one in the series and one of the later films as well. So first of all, there will be a spoiler warning for the discussion, of course. If you haven't seen this film, I simply recommend seeing it first and then come back to this video and we can go from there. We can talk about this film in the comments and all things Carry On. So yes, with all that said, let's discuss my thoughts on this film and one that I did rewatch again last night, and yeah, I saw this last year, for the first time, and now seeing it again. So I've seen this twice, and it's a film that I will, get straight to it. I don't have loads to say about this one personally, but it's the one that I kind of enjoy. It's okay. It has definitely has its moments, throughout, and I think particularly the first act was quite funny, and had some decent moments, but I think this film overall, it's definitely one of the weaker Carry On films, just for me personally. And I do think, this being, of course, following Dick Turpin and obviously Sid James, it's really funny in the role of Dick Turpin, of course, and set in obviously 1750, and we've got all these highway robberies, and naturally Dick Turpin being a highwayman, it's quite interesting to see this and how he tries to basically in this film evade the law, and we have Kenneth Williams, one of the main ones who is pursuing him, and I think that's all quite, well set up in a way, and it's quite innocent and charming, and has some funny moments. But I think, in that sense, this kind of feels, like very similar to, for example, Don't Lose Your Head and Karen Henry, just in the way it's done and the costumes and all this, and just I think it, in comparison to those films, it does pale quite a bit, and it does feel just like it kind of going through the motions a bit. This one again, but I do think it has some things going for it, and it is unique in places. But seeing it again, I was kind of reminded of how kind of this is quite an underwhelming experience. Just as a Carry On for me personally, and I think this is a significant film. Obviously, it's the last of quite a few performances here actually, and we have Sid James, of course, this being his last film. He was really sadly, he passed away 2 years after this, and this was the final one, 19th Carry On film, of course. So massive. Member, of course, of the Carry On team, and in so many of the films, Hattie, Jacques as well, the 14th and final, and Barbara Windsor for the 9th and final Carry On film. So quite a few of the members, after this, never returned to the actual main, obviously, films, and as well Talbot Rothwell. This is interesting because it is his 20th and final script for the Carry On series as well. So I would say, this and Behind do feel quite similar. So I don't really think, it's kind of Talbot Rothwell, who after he left, instantly went to, in that sense, into a mess. Because I think it was after Carry On Behind, that's when the series really, the last few, it was just a no-go for me really. Behind I do enjoy personally, and I do enjoy this film. So it's quite interesting, but a lot of the cast did leave here, and Behind again, they would gradually be leaving over these last few films, of course, and Manuel there wasn't too much, in that one by that point of the cast, and we still had Kenneth Williams in that one and stuff. But yeah, no, this film, it's definitely end of an era in that sense, and it's quite sad for that, and I think it is, quite an underwhelming film at times. But once again, the cast that are here do elevate this, material. I think particular standouts, for this film, Jack Douglas and Kenneth Williams, them together, of course, them kind of investigating things, and I think the first act, that whole kind of running gag, it was quite funny, going to the toilet and all this, and I think the atmosphere there was quite good, a nice atmosphere that's created. Although I was noticing once again, there's quite a few of the jokes in this, that just for a Carry On film, it is quite lazy, I would say, with all respect. Some of the jokes, they are just too on the nose, and it just feels like they're very quickly put together, and there's not really too much thought put into them, at least for what as a viewer, what I'm feeling, and just a general sort of lazy, tacky feeling to some of the gags. And really, that can be said for the entire film. I think it just lacks this narrative momentum and drive, and just a sense of energy really, and charm as well at times. It's kind of lacking the Carry On charm as we go in the second half of the film. I think it has got moments littered throughout. It does feel like a Carry On, but it is at times, just a bit tacky for me. A bit kind of, a little bit grimy, and not just it lacks that oomph, it lacks that energy, and there's moments where it's very well presented. The production, at times, the costumes and all this, and the way it's shot. I do think it's well shot at times. A lot of the the kind of pans, and the push-ins. There's quite a few, I do enjoy, and I think, again, I was picking up on this, it's quite well, shot, and, I just think it does have this problem with the flow again, and because there isn't too much going on in the narrative, it's a bit repetitive at times when we have Dick Turpin, of course, Sid James kind of going around performing these robberies, and, even in the second half where he's kind of trying to evade the law, it becomes a bit repetitive, and it's kind of stretched, very thin, I think, and it's a bit drawn out. They don't have too much material here, really, kind of sustain, as I say, comedic sequences to really kind of deliver this, funny comedy, because it does lack at times in the second half, the laughs really, and I think actually there's quite a big portion of the film, middle half of the film, I think there wasn't really too much moments where I laughed at all at this, so it has got some issues in that sense with the flow and just the actual gags here. They are lacking definitely for the carry-on standards. I think in terms of really, to sum it up, in terms of the ones that I like in the series, and there's only a few that I dislike, this is definitely near the bottom of that kind of bracket there. It's a very much, I enjoy the film for what it is. I enjoy the cast. I think the first act in particular was quite funny, and moments throughout that are charming. I think when the final act comes around as well, it's a nice location once again. It's quite nice to look at. I do enjoy generally the locations throughout this film. Really, really nice and kind of nostalgic. Looking in the way it's done. But I think that final act we have, of course, Dick Turpin, Sid James giving the sermon, in the church, and all that. I think they're constantly playing the music there as well. It's a bit repetitive and a bit drawn out. Even though it's quite a cool ending, they do get away. The trio, the main trio we've had, obviously Peter Butterworth, Barbara Windsor, and Sid James throughout this film. They all get away, Harriet and Tom and Dick, in the end. And I think it's quite nice to see the way it's done. But I think even that is a bit, it's drawn out, and then that final moment is a bit rushed, where we have just that final shot there, and at the end it draws the. I think it's just a bit tacky in my opinion. Obviously it's quite fitting the way it ends there. On paper it is quite effective, but just the way it's done, the way it's executed, that was a bit rushed, the actual final shot, and it feels like a bit of a throwaway ending, even though obviously it's quite fitting, and it's a final Sid James carry-on film, and it does end with him and Barbara Windsor, so that was fitting. It was quite, if you look into that, it's quite nice. I think it's quite powerful because they were quite pairing for a lot of the films, and two of the staple kind of carry-on members, you could say. So that was quite nice, and the actual idea of it having the end over the thing there. I think again, it's the execution in places. I just find at times it is a bit kind of tacky, and it lacks that kind of energy, as I've said, that charm really for the carry-on films that I come to expect. And seeing it again, just a lot of it came back to me. But I must say, from last year, it was one of those rare films where I didn't really remember too much about it, before watching it, and it all kind of came back to me, throughout the film. But it wasn't a very memorable watch first time round, and seeing it again, I can see why. There's not really too much going on here, not too many standout sequences, of comedy, of actually true slapstick in this one. It kind of lacks that feel. It's more, kind of the idea of a lot of the things are meant to be really funny, and there's not really too much as well, kind of thought out around the gags, and the gags that are there are a bit repetitive at times. I do enjoy some of them, of course, and I do like this film, but there's moments, for example, where we have Joan Sims, her character, and all the women in the bar there, the tavern. It's just, that is not a good sequence for me, personally. Just their show, the actor they're putting on, and all the jokes that they're slowly delivering to the audience, and then everyone's just going, yeah, and just that kind of typical thing where it's just, that could have really been trimmed, and it happens again, as we know. They're kind of performing the act again later on the film, and that was just, by that point I was thinking, we don't have to hear these jokes again, do we? And we did, kind of hear some of them again, and it really wasn't funny, and I just think that was a very ineffective piece of comedy there, and just for me personally, and it's a shame. I think Joan Sims, is one of my favourites, but I think she could have been given, a much better, kind of character here, and just some of the gags in that kind of location there, a bit one note, and not really for me. But I do enjoy the kind of and Jack Douglas's kind of investigating that whole kind of sequence. Him and Kenneth Williams together, I think was a highlight, and Sid James was definitely a standout, as Dick Turpin, and his presence obviously was great to see, and I think as well Peter Butterworth, even though he doesn't really get given too much dialogue really that is meaningful, his presence again was felt, and I did enjoy just seeing him, Barbara Windsor and Sid James together as that kind of trio there, as the criminals there. Was definitely enjoyable at times, but again, a lot of this is surface level, and I just find there's not too much underneath with this one, and rewatching it, again, it just really wasn't. It's not one of my favourite Carry On films. It's very flat. It lacks that energy, that kind of, those really well thought out, gags and comedic sequences, situations that really could have allowed for more comedy, for sure. Laugh out loud moments, but I think the execution was just a bit off at times, and it did drag in places. The final act had some highlights again, and I enjoyed the cast. Definitely the first act, and really the first half. I did enjoy, but some of the second half, especially, I found myself thinking it was a bit mediocre at times. Just a bit underwhelming for sure. Very tacky. It did take a lot out of me. It was a hard one to watch at times. In that second half, just not really too much comedy going on there at times, but overall it's just a bare bones one, and I think overall this is an average film, and just in terms of the carry-ons that I enjoy, it's definitely right near the bottom in that sense, and it's definitely not one of my favourite carry-on films in the series. And so for my rating for this film, it's a 60%, so for me, a very, very average film. It doesn't really do too much to kind of make me laugh consistently. It's just a very bare bones film that I kind of enjoy. For the cast, for the sets at times, the production. Even though it's a bit tacky in places, it does look good. The visuals are nice, and it's a film that I laugh at times. I think it's funny, especially at first, and it has cast members that I enjoy, the charm, what they're giving off. Obviously, I love the Carry On films, overall. So seeing the cast here, and they are given some funny lines and stuff, so I don't dislike the film, but it's one that's quite close to perhaps not liking. Just the cast once again elevate this, and it has at times that Carry On feel. Talbot Rothwell, there's a couple of moments, definitely it's got some good moments of dialogue, but overall the film just isn't that impressive really, and it definitely lacks many things, and it does feel I will say, not depressing, but it's a bit sad to see this one again, because it is certainly not for me, at least, with all respect, the Carry On, at its best, that's for sure. It really is. It's kind of at times bottom of the barrel, just scraping by really here, and there are some funny moments, but I think at times it's a very baffling film, and doesn't really make me laugh too much, and it's just a final act that has some good moments, the way it comes together, some cool outcomes, but really, once again, seeing, the end coming up and all this, and just seeing that final shot, very underwhelming film for me personally. It's a film that, I like, but not too much, and that's my thoughts, of course. What do you think? It'd be great to hear, your thoughts on this film. What's your personal experience when watching this film, and, how would this compare to other Carry On films for you personally? Always interesting to hear that, and it's a film that I enjoy, as I say, but it's definitely not one of my favourite Carry On films, and seeing it again, it's a bit, it's very underwhelming and a bit sad that this was, the case with this one. It just lacked a lot, and obviously the final Talbot Rothwell, script. Next up, in terms of the Carry On films, was Carry On Behind in '75, and before that I'll be getting to Carry On Regardless. So that's what I'll be talking about next, watching it today, and I'll be talking about that as soon as I can, really, and then it will be the final film in the Carry On series to talk about on the channel, and that is, of course, Carry On Behind, and then will come the ranking, hopefully this month, and I'll get that up, and that'll be fun to do. So as I say, Carry On Regardless next, and look forward to discussing that film, and just a couple of films left to discuss, now in the Carry On series on the channel. So obviously after that though, and after the ranking of the films, I'll be talking about the specials as well, the 4 specials and the series as well in separate videos. So that'll be fun to do, and yeah, I'll probably rank the specials in a separate video, and just more Carry On content will come over time, and be doing different lists that are not just the actual film ranking as well. So I'm looking forward to that, and certainly not the last of the Carry On content on the channel with these films and then the ranking. No, and cannot wait to discuss the rest of the films, and yeah, the rest of the kind of Carry On stuff to discuss. That'll be really cool to do on the channel, and hear your opinions on all these films and series as well. So yes, it'd be great to do that. And for now, I enjoy this film. It'd be great to hear your thoughts. A pleasure as always to discuss this film in the comments and all things Carry On. So yes, as always, take care and thanks for watching.